Hi, everybody, and welcome to the first session of our 2025 webinar shorts. This is part one of a three-part series, and today's focus is on the basics of marketing automation. And in the next two sessions, we'll be looking at the tactics for success. And then the third one in the series is about what the future holds, including how AI and privacy will impact marketing automation. So I'm John Moore, and over the next 15 minutes or less, I'm going to give you a fast-paced, practical overview of marketing automation. We're going to start with a bit of a background exploration, explaining what it is, why it matters, and how it can transform your sales and marketing results. What is marketing automation? Marketing automation is all about using technology to automate repetitive marketing tasks like email, social media posts, customer journeys, and lead tracking. It helps streamline your operations, personalize your communications, and ultimately drive sales. But what the dictionary doesn't tell you is marketing automation isn't just about efficiency, it's also about helping buyers buy. It's about engaging with leads and customers where they are in their own journeys and having conversations with them in their language. So as part of the background to this, let's look at the buyer journey. So the buyer journey has changed. Most companies tend to think in a linear process. They think it's all about creating awareness, helping people with the consideration, getting them through the purchase process, how we retain them, and how we deliver advocacy. But the reality is that people don't buy that way in a nice little linear way. They tend to jump in and out. Some may start with a social ad and others read reviews or download a guide. Everyone buys differently. Some come across your business via a friend's recommendation or via an article you wrote or a product review. They move in and out of the various touch points. So everyone's journey is different and unique. So that's why it's very tough to be able to map a perfect journey. The good news, though, is that buyers do tend to leave digital clues or footprints, so we can get some idea of what people are doing through their buying process. So buyers are unique. That's the first thing we need to understand. No two buyers buy the same way. So some people buy quickly, others take months. Some are technically biased, whereas others are more emotionally biased. Some buy a brand and others buy on price. But however they buy, they leave digital footprints. Every time they carry out a Google search, they go on a website to do a comparison, they read a review, they check your site, they download some content or watch videos, and all these behaviors are actually trackable. So on average, a customer will engage with your brand 22 to 25 times before making a purchase. But what's interesting is often around about 19 of those are done before they actually directly contact somebody in your sales team. And a lot of those touch points are self-driven. So it is very much about people buying in their own way. So sales has changed. There's been a shift here. The days are gone where marketing was just doing awareness and interest, and then sales did the real legwork. In today's world, marketing is quite pervasive. It tends to cover the whole journey, but very, very importantly, there's a significant amount of heavy work done by marketing, with sales picking up the tail end of the process. So to keep these empowered buyers, marketing teams have had to turn to technology to see if they can help them better understand the buyer's process. And there is a huge technology landscape. The technology landscape today has over 14,000 different marketing tools available to help marketers understand where prospects are in the buyer's journey. And on this particular map, which is produced by a company called Martech, they've tried to put the logo of all 14,000 companies on a single map. And then they've broken them down into groups. So you've got your CRMs, your email platforms, your form builders, your ad managers, your social media schedulers. But at the end of the day, it's overwhelming. But each one of these technologies shows you a different aspect or part of the buyer's journey. And what the marketeer is doing, a business is trying to do, is how can we pull a few of these technologies together to create a mix which allows us to see the full view of the customer journey. And this mixing of the tools is what's referred to today as a MarTech stack. So most companies would start with a MarTech stack, which is normally 8 to 10 tools that they try and connect together. So right at the beginning, you probably start with a CRM at the heart. And then you realize very quickly that you need to do a newsletter. So you bolt on an email marketing tool. After that, you then realize you need to capture some data. So you might add a form builder. And then you realize that analytics would be quite useful to try and stitch it all together. And then when you do a campaign, you think, oh, I ought to have a landing page for that campaign. And then if I'm going to post articles, I better have a blog platform. And I'm going to need to manage my social media. So what you end up with is a selection of tools that most marketing teams have. However, there's a catch. All of these tools talk in a slightly different language from one another. So one of the big challenges of a marketing team is trying to work out how you connect them all together so that they talk with the same voice. And what happens is it doesn't work that brilliantly. You find that some of the data gets scattered, some of the workflows are a bit disjointed or often fall over, and it slows everything down. So you think you've built yourself a perfect MarTech stack. It's really lovely toy, but quite often, do you really have a stack that allows you to understand the customer journey? Do you know which campaigns give the best returns? I mean, if you ask the sales guy and say, where did that last sale come from that you got? He may well say it was a web inquiry, which just happens to be the 19th engagement that that customer made and was the one that first made them visible to the sales team. What you really want to know is what was the real first touch point. So marketing automation was sprung. That's why the industry is moving towards effectively a marketing all-in-one platform, a single system where your CRM, your email, your automations, your social media, your lead scoring, analytics, everything is fully integrated into a single platform. These systems used to be enterprise level only. So they kind of were HubSpot, Salesforce, Pardot, Oracle, Marketo Engage. They were right up with the very large companies. But as the technology has become cheaper and easier to deliver over the years, it's moved down. So companies now at the very low end may start with something like a Pipedrive or an Active Campaign or even a light version of HubSpot. And then we've had the Act-ons and the Infusionsofts and so on, which come a little bit further up the scale. But in the last couple of years, we've had Constant Contact Lead Gen and Go High Level, which are systems which are now completely affordable to the average small and medium enterprise. And now they can have that solution for a fraction of the cost. And even more, when you actually add up the costs of that one platform, it probably is less than having the separate technologies in the stack. So why is a single platform better? First, it's a single platform. So it tends to be you only got to learn one system, so it's easy to use. You only have one login, you have one system to learn. It's connected and seamless. Your data sits in one place, which is crucial for compliance. And it also allows you to measure the end-to-end performance. With this visibility, you can finally see what's working. You can pinpoint which campaigns are generating which leads and what the lead is worth in terms of its sales value. So a single platform means you have one login, one database, fully integrated tools, seamless customer experience, better analytics and GDPR compliance. But what I wanted to do is just take you on to this one. So here's the components of a single platform. So quite often you'll have all of these various elements within it. But what I wanted to show here, which is the real thing, which is the life of the lead. So most of these systems will have a life of the lead, some way that you can actually see the progress. And in this case here, you can see here that there was an email that was opened. They then went onto the website. They then completed a form. They then received an autoresponder. They then visited a website. They then booked a meeting. They then received another responder. They then viewed a video. They then had another email interaction. And basically, you can actually see the full life cycle of that customer because all of the information, all the data is in a single platform. The all-in-one solution lets you follow a prospect through their full life cycle from that very first interaction with your business through the whole sales cycle and beyond, being tracked right until the end of the life. But what is really crucially important here is that the one system is used by both sales and marketing teams, which means that makes it fundamental to its success. The sales pipeline actually sits within the same platform, which basically means the handoff between the sales and the marketing is now blurred, or actually is intentionally is made to overlap. So it reduces the risk of the dropping of balls or losing leads or letting leads get cold. And that is probably the single biggest benefit that you get from having a single platform solution. So in terms of business benefits, what you tend to get is your sales and marketing are actually now working together because they're using the same platform, which means you naturally end up with a better consistency of message, and you've got complete clarity on who your target markets are. So normally the process of just setting these systems up creates a better alignment within the business. Your customer experience is significantly enhanced because you now learn to deliver the right message at the right time. So it's coming to so you're allowing your buyers to work at their own pace. You get improvements of productivity. Your sales, you tend to get more leads, they tend to be higher quality, and you get a better conversion. So, and then because it's a single system, you have that visibility and control. And ultimately, you can then focus on what works, repeat it again and again by driving more and more ROI. Done right, any of these kind of systems set up correctly will typically boost sales between 20 and 30% within 6 months. So here's an example of a client, a slightly higher end client on this range. And I've got some in my second webinar where we'll show some smaller clients. But the key here is what I want to show is you can have your campaigns down here. So these are your different campaigns. But next to it, you can see how many leads it's generated, how many sales it produced, how many sales you lost. You can see how many working ops you've got. You can see the value of the sales, and you can take the full value, and you can actually work out then what the projected revenue you get per lead. So you can see which campaign is delivering you the best return. In this case, you can see here of the 1,256 leads, you're getting an average return of about £5,000 per lead. Okay. As I say, I'll show you some examples in the next webinar where these are for smaller companies as well with a similar kind of results. So selecting a marketing automation solution. We'll again talk about it in the next webinar, but the number one requirement is you need to understand your customer journey. So what are the touch points? Are you doing demos? Are you doing webinars? Are you providing a lot of free articles or content or even gated content? Are you doing social media? Do your clients go through multiple touch points? Is there a requirement to nurture people because it's a slightly longer sale item? And then the questions are you prepared to invest in it? Can you afford not to? So do I know my customer journey? Are there multiple touch points? Do I really want to grow and I'm prepared to invest? And if the answer is yes, you can start small and scale, but you must understand your roadmap to success. The future of MI is marketing automation is near, and I cover it in my later webinars. If you're not ready, your competitors will have the ability soon to capture prospects from under your nose, and you won't even know that you ever lost them. And you only got to look back in histories for companies like Blockbuster, which is always used as a classic, didn't see around the corner as to what was coming to get them. So next steps, we're doing a short webinar series. Next one goes into the tactics webinar. So what we'll talk about is things like which touch points matter most, what can you automate today, what does a full plan, when does having a full platform make sense? And we'll cover that in the second session, which is next week. And then the following week, we'll look and see how AI and privacy and personalization is having a big impact in the years to come, which is really quite an exciting one. That brings me to the end of today's basic automation webinar. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. I am going to hang around for some Q&A if anybody does want to ask any questions. Otherwise, I invite you, please, to join me for the Tactics webinar next week.